News Radio KMAN weather.
Right now in the Manhattan area, 87 degrees, partly cloudy skies, wind gusting as high as 26 miles per hour out of the south. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms likely mainly after 4 in the morning, that chance at 60%. Other than that, cloudy skies in a low around 66. Tomorrow, again, showers and thunderstorms likely in the morning, high near 74, that chance of precipitation at 80%. More chance for rain tomorrow night before 7 in the evening. We're getting set for the game next on News Radio KMAN.
KMAN Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN. Your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Hey guys, that Lincoln Cure guy, I saw it in person this past weekend. The kid's a stud. Talented. Big guy. Athletic. Fast. Showed it off at State Track and Field. Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner with Cole Dutchendorf. We got a Wildcat up for the College Football Hall of Fame once again. The Royals call up a 22-year-old to help out with the offense. K-State Classics with Cole coming up in hour number 2. 2011 K-State against the Baylor Bears. Who doesn't remember that game? Who wasn't at that game? The crowd going nuts in the fourth quarter. The Arthur Brown interception. He had a hell of a last 5 minutes of that game. I won't give away the spoiler, the final score, the spoiler. Coming up with K-State Classics with Cole. Coming up, we're actually going to have that 5:10 because coming up at 5:30, very special guest coming on the show. K-State Athletics Director Gene Taylor. We'll speak with the AD about K-State and participating in the Big 12 spring meetings this past week in Orlando, Florida, because there was a lot of important things on the rundown to discuss. The college football playoff, private equity, naming rights to the Big 12, things like that were brought up. Speaking with ESPN and Fox and what they've been hearing back, and it sounds like it's pretty good things. There's got to be some good reasons why the Big 12 feels like they don't necessarily have to go with private equity just yet, as I am in no way an expert in that kind of field. People say it's not a good idea to go in that direction, and I believe them. But Gene Taylor coming on the show, that's coming up at 5:30. K-State football having a really good day when it comes to picking up players for the class of 2026. Picking up 3 players, as a matter of fact, today. Coach Brian LePack doing a hell of a job right now as the offensive line coach, recruiting for the offensive line. He's picked up some dudes today. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. Phone line, text line open as always, 785-537-1350. Now, we're not going to have a show on Friday. I'm actually going to be out at the Fridge in Manhattan to talk about a free trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And I'll be broadcasting live from the Fridge, 4:30 to 5:30 on 101.5 K-Rock. Head out to the Fridge this week, guys, and get signed up to become an instant finalist to win a free trip to Cabo San Lucas, which is brought to you by Ustav Phillips 66 and the Friendship House. Again, the Fridge in Manhattan on the west side, close to West Loop, to get signed up to win a free trip to Cabo. And you can come see me on Friday. That begins at 4:30. At State Track and Field, I was broadcasting live on Friday, and of course, always excited to watch our local, student athletes compete, especially for the Manhattan girls, Harley Omley and Hannah Pellin. Got to give those two gals a shout out. Plus the 4x100 meter relay team. Big shout out to those gals as well. Setting records, the prelim, the fastest 4x1 time ever in Kansas high school history. Phenomenal to watch in person, super fast. I mean, all 4 gals, just phenomenal athletes. But, of course, it's headlined by Hannah Pellin and Harley Omley, who are now going off to their next level. They'll compete at the collegiate level. Omley to Texas Tech. Hannah Pellin going to be heading to Ole Miss. Omley with 3 gold medals total. 4 medals overall, but 3 gold medals, and Pellin with 3 medals. So congratulations to those ladies on on a phenomenal career. The Manhattan girls, it came down to the final event. The 4x4 just didn't go their way, and they finished in second place as a team. But I had to step out of the old Coke Arena. That's where they put all the media to get their work done, Coke Arena, which is adjacent to Cessna Stadium. And I had to step outside. I had to get out of the AC and into the heat to watch Lincoln Cure perform. It was his last two races as a high school athlete. He decided to stay throughout his senior year at Goodland High School, not coming to K-State early, wanted to play basketball one final time, and wanted to break records as a track athlete. And he did. The 110 hurdles, the fastest time in the meets history for Class 3A. He did not win the 300-meter hurdles. He actually lost the 300 hurdles by 2/100ths of a second. It doesn't get much closer than that. And it's thankfully he kind of leaned across at the finish line to make it so it was a photo finish, and I was standing right there, right next to the finish line. That kid is a competitor. And for a big guy like that to just dominate those two kind of events and be one of the best in the state of Kansas, it's even more impressive to see a guy like that of his size. What is he, 6'6", 6'7", 200 pounds? I'm not sure where his weight is at. I'm not sure where the measurements
Well, he even talked about beefing up a little bit in preparation for K-State football. He's north of 220 for sure. I think that's what he was playing at during the football season, and he talked about after the race actually gaining weight and how that had maybe a negative impact on his track performance, and that's still what he's able to produce.
Well, yeah, he wasn't as jacked as I thought he would be. Obviously, when he comes to K-State, I mean, everybody, gets in the weight room and going to put on some weight, bulk up the arms a little bit. His legs are ham hocks. Like that's where the athleticism comes from, right? And that's why he boogies down the track. He's got a powerful base,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he cooks. He's fast.
Well, he can jump out of the gym too. I mean, it's not fair. He's for how large he is. He's a special athlete, and I think, football stuff aside, he's obviously a really good football player. He wasn't as good at basketball, but still, you're that big and that athletic, you're going to be a good player. Again, jumping out of the gym, that kind of player being added to the roster is, I think we're going to have some fun this next season.
Yeah, and I didn't take his time and compare it to those in 6A and 5A, because typically those are just different levels of athlete. Here in Kansas, I mean, when you get into 6A and 5A, you're looking at Kansas City, Wichita, Topeka kids. Goodland is, got some farm kids out there. It's just different classifications, different type of athletes. But I think his numbers would have been definitely comparable to some of the, just overall fast kids out there. And even obviously the hurdles are just different than your 100-meter dash or 200 and your 400. But I still think he could compete at those levels. He was also very efficient, just the execution on the hurdles. He didn't jump higher than he needed to. No wasted movements. Very well put. He knew precisely how high he needed to jump, how high to bring his front leg. All that stuff was just calculated perfectly. And I caught up with him after he was done with the awards stand. And I just talked to him for a few minutes, introduced myself, because we had talked a couple of times, but I never met him in person quite yet, and just talked to him for a couple of minutes just about the races, and he was all about breaking records in the 110, and he did. He said he did not have his best race in the 300. He lost the prelim too. He finished in second, but that was the finals were much closer. And then I asked him about, so when is he getting to Manhattan? And this kid was ready to come to Manhattan, because what he told me was, well, actually, now that I'm done, I'm actually leaving, and I'm going to Manhattan tonight. So as soon as he was done with the 300 hurdles, he's packing up his stuff, and he's heading 2 hours northeast to Manhattan, Kansas. He said he was going up there for meeting his roommates. He was going to attend some meetings and get his life as a Wildcat started. It started hours after his high school career came to an end. So off came the Goodland jersey, and here comes the Wildcat jersey, which I saw also on social media.
Number 0.
Yeah, he posted on Instagram, and he's like, he's going to be number 0.
I think that's got some drip potential for sure.
Who was the tight end.
I have no idea.
Well, I think there was a tight end. Was it Daniel Amaterbebe that wore number 0? This stuff just blurs together at some point for me. I want to say Daniel Amaterbebe was like the first when the NCAA allowed college football players to start wearing the number 0. I want to say Daniel Amaterbebe was the first. I don't know what Lincoln Cure's football number was, but I think 0 is a good look. And
you mentioned how it would stack up in terms his 110-meter hurdle time. I just checked out Keisha. It would have been the best all classifications. 14:26 was the next closest, at least in the prelims. I don't know if this document also has the medaling times, but that's all I'm seeing is 14:26 was the next fastest.
Nobody was going to catch him.
Mm-mm.
That's how good he is. So K-State fans, we got ourselves an athlete here. He's officially here. Expect him to play. Expect him to play out of the gate. Deep is the tight end room, right?
Man.
Deepest it's ever been. Has to be. Again, K-State Classics with Cole coming up at 5:10. We'll talk with Gene Taylor at 5:30 about the Big 12 spring meetings. Get his 2 cents on the college football playoff, where he thinks it's going, why the Big 12 loves the 5-11 so much. Let's get somebody from in those meetings to represent the Big 12 on those topics. Wanted to just share a couple of things just as the Bad Cats wrap up their season. I was pretty worried about this regional. I think I expressed that for the most part. Last week I was worried about the pitching, and for the most part the pitching was, pretty rough. Tanner Duke, records just 1 out against Texas. Jacob Frost, he was actually I you know what? I got to give Jacob Frost his due here. Honestly, with the pitching, he was the first name to come to mind just because starting pitching is so key. You don't want to go to your bullpen too early, especially in an NCAA regional. If K-State wanted to survive, they had to get a good start out of Jacob Frost, and it was just too often these days that he was getting chased out of the game pretty early. Not the case. Jacob does go over 5 innings. He does give up 5 earned runs, but 5 strikeouts, 4 walks. He was pretty up and down. But again, that UTSA lineup was pretty deadly. I mean, they showed it in this regional. They're the real deal. Beating Texas. But then against Texas, first of all, they do beat Houston Christian, bad team that won their conference. K-State gets them by 3 runs, and then on Sunday against Texas, it got pretty bad, giving up 6 runs, and that was pretty much all she wrote. K-State coming through with 3 runs in that bottom of the first. Okay, a sign of life. It's not completely done. Just felt like the pitching wasn't going to be, good enough. So K-State just did not play their best baseball, obviously, in the last couple of months of the season. The first half of the season was a lot of fun. Got them into the top 25. It had been forever since K-State been in the top 25. They were the number 1 team in the Big 12 early. And it's like when that ranking came out and they're number 1 in the Big 12, and now everybody's talking about K-State. They're getting national attention. They have National Players of the Week, conference, honors, things like that. It's just, for some reason in Stillwater, it just changed. It turned around, and things just didn't go K-State's way. And it was hard for them to get back on track to where they were at one point. A couple of pluses, obviously, that through the transfer portal, especially offensively, you did have a handful of guys really play well. Keegan O'Connor, Maximus Martin, Seth Dardar. I think those are obviously 3 studs. You have a freshman coming in AJ Avasco, and he's 4th on your team in hitting, which was great to see. I think D. Kennedy has a ton of upside. Shintaro Inoue has some sneaky power. Bear Madliak, I think, has a ways to go, but he could be good. That's a lot of guys that can come back this next year. I believe Keegan can come back. I'm confused about the grad transfers like Dardar, for instance. We talked to him about that. He says he does have an extra year of eligibility remaining. I would imagine he would stay at K-State and pursue that, which he was technically K-State's best hitter when it comes to batting average this season, hitting .326. Keegan O'Connor does set the program record individually. He did that in the regional with 17 home runs this year. K-State hit 97 this year. If there's one thing you can guarantee every year, this team's going to hit for power. And they did, and this was the best season in K-State history, hitting for power with 97 home runs.
I think I try to look. It's tough immediately after a team loses in the postseason, but trying to have some perspective on the season. First and foremost, this was supposed to be like a rebuilding year for K-State baseball. So for them to perform how they did throughout this season, and it wasn't always the prettiest. I think overall, it's for sure a successful season. Only the second time, or at least the first time in over a decade, to make back-to-back postseasons. And then honestly, this season kind of has reminded me a little bit of the football season, in where, at the end of the season, it felt a little bit worse than it did because of how the team performed maybe later in the season compared to the beginning of the year, where in football it was like a 7-1 start. They just happened to lose 3 out of their last 4 regular season Big 12 games. It was still, if you told fans before the season 9-4 bowl game win, you probably would have been okay with that. Same for baseball. I think okay is probably an understatement. You probably would have been pretty happy if you heard that the end result was, hey, you're not going to make it out of the first regional, but you're still going to make it to that regional. You're still going to compete in that regional. You're going to have the most Big 12 wins in your program history. I think overall, definitely a successful season for baseball, even though it was a disappointing way how it ended in just kind of the back second half of the season as a whole.
I mean, I'll put it this way. I know it was frustrating to watch the team struggle to pitch, mistakes. If there was one big improvement in the second half of the year, and that was the errors, the fielding. Right. It was way better with the adjustments that Coach Hughes decided to make. Got David Bishop back out there at first base. Frustrating for sure to see the team struggle in the second half of the year. They still get to the NCAA tournament, which, I mean, let's put it this way. He is just the second coach to ever do that. It's just the second time in program history that K-State has gone to back-to-back regionals. I look at last year where, yes, it was fun watching K-State win a regional. They don't win a super regional, but what was the expectations? I think a lot of people thought the ceiling was a regional. They surpassed expectations. What were your expectations this year? I think a lot of people were just kind of up in the air about it. We'll see. Not sure, just because it's such a different team, and you got a lot of undervalued misfits coming from smaller schools making up this team. And then you're probably thinking, well, what's the ceiling? A regional. So they basically, at the highest they could, met people's expectations.
It just became different after a really good start. So it's tough to kind of temper those, given, again, this team way outperformed expectations in the beginning of the year, and then maybe we're back to about where it was expected in the middle of the year. So it's tough to have that perspective, but I think it is important to at least try to have it with a team that probably reached at or where, as you said, the ceiling probably was heading into this season.
And we'll try to keep up as much as we possibly can with K-State, because this is actually going to be a pretty busy time for them, because right now there's a lot of player meetings going on, a lot of discussions about the future of these student athletes. K-State will then decide what they need to go get, and I think there's no doubt what they need to go get is a starting pitcher to pitch on the weekends, because Lincoln Sheffield can come back, and the question is, does Carson Liggett, who sat out this year because of an injury, is he sticking around, and is he going to pitch this year for K-State? If that's the case, that's huge, because right there's your Friday starter.
Right.
Lincoln Sheffield will pitch on Saturday, I'm sure. So then going to find potentially another starter and just consistent pitching. I mean, that obviously would be a pretty monster key to develop in this offseason. But guys will go their separate ways this summer and play on summer leagues and try to go get better. But I think a big key is a lot of your offense can return for this next season. I'd mentioned that a number of times this year that, hey, this team can actually be pretty built for a huge run next year. It just, who knows what's going to happen this year as they try to tweak some things and get on the right track. A lot of guys changed positions either early in the year or midway through the season. There was a lot of changes, like Keegan O'Connor, for example. I mean, he was a catcher. Experience in other positions as well, but he played the whole year in left field, things like that. It was just kind of unique right out of the gate to see, in my mind, I had guys at certain areas, and it's no, you got 2 or 3 guys that are going to start every day, but they're not going to be playing at the positions that they played in previously. And like, for example, as well, Maximus Martin can play a lot of positions. Previously, it was well documented as well. He played at different positions at Georgia State, and now, he moved out to center field, and K-State's fielding was a lot better with Shin moving to shortstop and Dardar at second. A bit of a revolving door at first base, but mostly with David Bishop. Like for example, as well, like we saw him play at first a little bit in the original. I think Sam Flores, has a lot of potential and can hit for power and was a DH for a while there. He's kind of the DH into K-State's hot start and also in K-State's fall there a little bit in the month of April. But the season is over. They fall in the regional. They lose at Texas. They got blown out a couple of times. They did get a win over Houston Christian. They'll finish with a record of 32-26, 17-13 in Big 12 play, 18-3 at home, 7-18 on the road, 7-5 on neutral sites. Obviously played way more away from Tointon Family Stadium than they did at home. That does happen, obviously, especially with the beginning of the year. All right, when we come back, a K-State Wildcat is back on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm going to warn you now, I think this is going to be another one of those Michael Bishop type of stories. That's coming up next on The Game.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the game.
You, my friend, are in the game on News Radio KMAN.
Of the game!
We've been dreaming along with you about the ultimate escape to the U-Stop Phillips 66 and Friendship House's all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas. Lucky for you, we can't win it. Are you an instant finalist yet? Time is running out, so be sure to listen to News Radio KMAN to find out where your next opportunity is to become one step closer to winning. You'll hear from one of us if your name has been selected, and you'll want to make sure your paperwork is filled out before the final event at Briggs Auto Lane in Manhattan on June 20th. There'll be music, fun, giveaways, and of course the final drawing to see who's headed to paradise. Cabo is calling. Will you answer? Stay tuned to News Radio KMAN and find out how you can become an instant finalist for the U-Stop Phillips 66 and Friendship House all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas. We'll see you June 20th at Briggs Auto Lane in Manhattan.
Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show comes to your radio every Friday morning at 10 a.m. We will discuss timely gardening and landscape topics to help you keep your lawn and garden in tip-top shape. Blueville Nursery has been your local landscape service and garden store for over 50 years, and we want to share our time-tested techniques with you. From vegetable gardening, spring and summer annuals, to shade trees and lawn care, we'll cover it all. You're welcome to call into the show to ask questions that apply to your own landscape or garden. Stay tuned to Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Radio KMAN.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about? What am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's given me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News, weekdays at 6.
You gotta love all of the projects. It's at least a sign that, yep, some things are getting done. Frustrating or not, look at it that way. Look for the positive of it. Things are getting done. Things are getting accomplished. It just doesn't look all that pretty when it's happening.
Yeah, Manhattan's always working on herself.
Good advice for us all, right?
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Cole Dutchendorf with the Game Sports Update. Power-hitting prospect Jack Caglione is set to make his Major League debut with the Kansas City Royals. The number 6 overall pick in the 2024 MLB Draft, who starred collegiately at Florida, is expected to be promoted Tuesday for Kansas City's 6-game road trip after just 79 games in the minors. Caglione, just 22 years old, has elite raw power and had posted an impressive .322, .389, .593 combined slash line with 15 home runs in 38 games this season at Class AA Northwest Arkansas and 12 with Class AAA Omaha. The left-handed slugger is a natural first baseman but has seen time in the minors this season in the outfield, an area where the Royals have been among the least productive in the major leagues. The K-State Wildcat football team could see another player added to the National Football Foundation's College Football Hall of Fame as it was announced on Monday that Wildcat legend Terrence Newman is on the 2026 ballot. In his senior year, Newman was named first-team All-Big 12 as a specialist after leading the conference in yards per return with 28.5, named the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year and a unanimous first-team All-American. He also became the first and only K-State player to win the Jim Thorpe Award. K-State baseball season came to a close on Sunday with a 15-8 loss to the number 2 overall seed and host team, Texas.
Oh man, this is sad to see. I'm a huge fan of the show King of the Hill. And the show's coming back. It's going to be on Hulu starting in August. There's going to be a new season. Apparently, Bobby's going to be all grown up. But King of the Hill voice actor Jonathan Joss has passed away. He did the voice of John Redcorn. And, man, I'm trying to find some details on this. So he died at 59. The headline is, King of the Hill voice actor Jonathan Joss dies at 59 after being fatally shot by neighbor. What the hell happened there? Lived in San Antonio. My God, John Redcorn is gone. That is a future Dateline Secrets Uncovered documentary to come here in a couple of years. We're back on the game. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf. You ever watched King of the Hill? That's probably a little before your time, maybe. Mm-hmm. You're probably more of a Family Guy.
I've seen a little bit of Family Guy.
American Dad, maybe. I'm trying to think of the animated shows.
Mainly just Family Guy for the animated ones. Like
Rick and Morty.
Fox. I've seen a little bit of Rick and Morty. Yeah.
Okay. You have a favorite animated show? South Park?
I've watched a little bit of South Park too. Honestly, I'm gonna go to a kids show. The Amazing World of Gumball. You familiar? Phenomenal show on Cartoon Network. Highly recommend.
No, not a clue.
Back in its heyday, go over to Grandma's house and throw on some Cartoon Network and watch The Amazing World of Gumball. If you know, you know.
I was an Ed, and Eddie kid.
Okay. I'm familiar. I haven't watched Ed, and Eddie, but I'm familiar at least with that show.
Are you familiar with Terrence Newman?
I am a little bit.
Well, K-State Classics with Cole coming up at 5:10. It's not a Terrence Newman game. You have actually not reviewed a Terrence Newman game. Yeah, you have not yet, because the closest would have been
97. The Fiesta Bowl was the closest I've had to him yet.
And he joined K-State in 98. Didn't play till 99. And then the later, you've done now 2 2011 games. Okay, so we're back on track. K-State Baylor 2011 coming up at 5:10. I'm very much looking forward to that, because who doesn't remember the ending, how that game wrapped up. Terrence Newman is back on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame. I believe this is his second time on the Hall of Fame ballot. I know he was on it last year. I can't recall if he was also on the ballot that was introduced around this time 2 years ago. I have a feeling this is going to be very Michael Bishop-like. Michael Bishop was on the ballot 4 or 5 times before he got the call from, who would have been on that call? Bill Snyder, Gene Taylor, maybe, Chris Kleiman, to announce that Michael Bishop was going to be officially inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. You know, Darren Sproles is in there, of course. Gary Spaney, Mark Semino. There's a couple of names that I'm going to be forgetting here. I got a feeling Terrence Newman is going to be – I don't know if he's going to get in this year. I don't think he is. I could be surprised. He is a consensus All-American, Jim Thorpe Award winner, a ball hawk. Not just was a defensive back. He could return kicks. He returned 3 kicks for a touchdown his senior year. Even got to catch the football a little bit. I think he had a touchdown in the Holiday Bowl. Arizona State, maybe. I'm not sure. I could be mixing up games. Here's one of the reasons I bring this up. The class of 2026 is star-studded. Star-studded. I'm just going to start rattling off some names here, and let's see if Cole recognizes these names. Again, he's a young guy. Mark Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Newton.
Yes.
Robert Griffin III.
Familiar with him. Watched a little bit of his film today.
Yes, he did. Aaron Donald.
Yep. I'm familiar with Aaron Donald.
Eric Bieniemy. I think he's been up there.
Really?
I think he's been now
EB
multiple times put on the ballot.
Big EB guy.
Des Bryant.
Yep. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Oh.
I'm familiar with Des Bryant.
Marvin Harrison.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much all these guys from the NFL. Don't know much of them from their college days.
They were dudes in their college days. Marshawn Lynch.
Yep. Cal legend.
Simeon Rice.
That's the first one I'm not entirely familiar with. Simeon Rice.
I think he was a 49er for a long time.
Okay.
49er for a long time. Let's see who else we have here. Ryan Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Terrible bust.
A bust, but he was pretty good in college. He was a high draft pick. Let's see, who else do we have here? I mean, I've already just listed off.
There are some big names in there.
A lot of those guys are first ballot as well. You got Heisman Trophy winners. Mark Ingram was the first Heisman winner for Alabama. That's already tough competition. Typically, there is some sort of balance when it comes to the positions. Right around 18 players get into the College Football Hall of Fame every year, and every year there's like 70 or 80 that are nominated. They'll throw in, 20 or so coaches, and 3, 4, or 5 of the coaches will get in. Bill Snyder, of course, is a College Football Hall of Famer. And take a look at the list of defensive backs that are up for the College Football Hall of Fame this year. Aaron Beasley from West Virginia is a recognizable name to me. Twice led the nation in interceptions, consensus All-American. Some names I don't recognize. Well, Russell Carter, he was on the Pony Express, the SMU Pony Express, where they were really good, and they got the death penalty. But he is a unanimous All-American. Top 5 final rankings in 81, 82, 80. Pretty good. There was another player that really stood out as well, but can't find. Chris Hudson from Colorado. I think some people would probably remember that name. Taylor Mays was a consensus All-American 3 times, a Jim Thorpe Award winner. There's just competition for Terrence, and there's going to be that competition every year for the College Football Hall of Fame, but I think Terrence does get in someday. I'm not sure if it's this year. It just may be a few years of a wait for Terrence to get in. But if you're not familiar with Terrence Newman's accolades, first of all, probably the greatest, or one of the greatest, South Salina Central Mustangs ever. 2002 unanimous first-team All-American. Won the Jim Thorpe in 2002. Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. First-team All-Big 12 honors as a specialist. And he led the league in kickoff return yards in 2002. Team captain, MVP, second Wildcat in history to score on both kickoff and punt return in the same season in 2002.
Do you know, like, so he was the All Big 12 first team. Was he also All Big 12 first team defense that same season if he was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year? So two first teams in the same season. That's pretty impressive.
No, he was awesome. I mean, and shout out to MJ who competed against oh my gosh, AJ Shaw for Stump the Shaw, was recommending a loss. And I did not put any losses in the K-State Classics with Cole. I mean, I don't know, because I'm kind of also like watching over Cole's shoulders while he's watching these games back. And if it's losses, I don't need to re-stab myself 18 times in the gut.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be heartbreakers. If they're classics, they're going to be heartbreakers. Like
A&M in 98.
Those.
Sorry, I didn't know if that was.
He doesn't know better, people. He doesn't know better. He wasn't around yet. As a matter of fact, we were watching some of the 2011 game in the office against Baylor, and there's a clip of a couple of kids throwing around football. I think one of those little kids that were 4 at the time was Cole, throwing the pigskin around. Well, of course, the most famous play was the punt return for a touchdown or not the punt return for a touchdown, the blocked PAT against USC when it was returned back for 2 points. But what I was mentioning about MJ was that he recommended the 0-1 Oklahoma game in Norman, the breakout game for L. Roberson. That was also a pretty monster game for Terrence Newman, who had a couple of interceptions and a couple of well-covered, really good-looking athleticism, NFL type, maybe even NIL back in the day, who knows?
Sliding some cash for those plays.
Type of plays. They were phenomenal plays. I don't know if I'm ready to put losses into the hat yet.
Maybe that's after we get through the list. Maybe if we feel we need to continue it, then we can dive into some of the classic losses. That feels wrong. I agree with you. I think for the first watch throughs, I think that feels wrong for right now.
I'll put it this way: like to dedicate a whole like summer's worth of segments to losses, we got to be real desperate.
We need content
for content. Like this K-State Classics with Cole is in no means a desperate grab for content. I saw like, oh, this kid can watch K-State Classics for the first time in his life. I'm all aboard.
Cha-ching.
I want to relive vicariously through Cole watching these games for the first time. And that will be coming up at 5:10. K-State Baylor in 2011 actually pulled some of the radio calls from that game.
That'll be good.
I was able to dig through our archives. We still had them saved, so we'll get to those a little bit later on. K-State Athletics Director Gene Taylor will join us at 5:30 to talk Big 12 spring meetings, the college football playoff, what was discussed with the commissioner of the Big 12, Brett Yormark, with the other ADs and head coaches. That's all still to come at 5:30. When we come back, we'll step away from the Cats for a moment and go to the Royals. A pretty big move was made over the weekend. A young pup going to be making a debut in the majors this week in St. Louis. That's coming up next on The Game.
Your home for K-State sports.
In the option, spread option set, Doxson is hit by Niall. Wide running, he takes him to the ground at the 25-yard line. It was like Kansas State's rodeo team.
This is The Game on News Radio, KMAN.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
WTC Fiber Internet is on its way to all of Manhattan. Sign your home or business up today at WTCKS.com. No contracts, no data caps, or overage fees. Fast, local, reliable. WTC Fiber Internet. Sign up today at WTCKS.com.
It's time for spring cleanup. Find what you need in the brands you love at Midwest Ace Hardware. Make yard cleanup easy with Ego or Stihl trimmers and blowers. Fertilize and seed your lawn with Scotts. And enjoy cookouts all summer long with Traeger, Blackstone, Weber, or Big Green Egg. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks.
For a once-in-a-lifetime experience, engagement ring shopping simply can't be duplicated on a computer screen. At Fifely Jewelers, you'll be pleasantly surprised by our pricing compared to buying online, and we offer financing. Plus, you'll have peace of mind by shopping locally with Fifely Jewelers.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
Information you can use in an ever-changing healthcare environment. America's healthcare advocate, Carrie Hall, Saturdays on News Radio KMAN.
We're here to educate and inform on the topic of healthcare and health insurance. We've partnered with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas to bring you these shows to educate you on healthcare and health insurance issues. That's why we're doing these shows here on America's Healthcare Advocate.
Join Carrie Hall, America's healthcare advocate, Saturday mornings at 7 on News Radio KMAN.
Standing at the edge of a rocky shore, you breathe in the cool, salty air, watching the sun disappear on the horizon. Across the globe, someone begins their day along a sandy beach, listening to the rhythm of the crashing waves. You each envision a world beneath the water, vibrant life in every imaginable form. Now, imagine it's all gone. What was once a place of wonder and beauty is now a dull, lifeless wasteland. Food, jobs, medicine, all gifts from the ocean, all gone. Time is running out to protect our oceans, and without our love, everything the oceans provide can and will disappear. It's our choice. Love it or lose it. Help protect our oceans. Visit World Wildlife Fund at wwf.org/love.
The Native community is big for me. Makes me feel good to pass on our Arapaho traditions. My kids love going up to the Sundance. I like to tell people the Sundance is about family. It's about the tribe. It's not just about the dancer. It's kind of like life. As a Sundancer, I'm just one spoke in the wheel. I need my family there. I need my role models. I need my people there, especially my children. You know, coming in that door, my family is ready to see me and they believe in me. Before, I'd never seen that from my people. But now when I walk in that door and I see those smiling faces and they're happy to see me, that's special. With my 4 kids, all I ask for them in Arapaho ways is health and happiness. Nothing more, nothing less.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
So I am 20 years old, straight out of high school. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona to start my own business selling furniture.
What does selling furniture look like?
So I go around picking it up, clean it up, take really good pictures and sell it. I'll probably do about $100,000 this year net.
Wow. Some of you are standing around with your finger in your ear. And then you got a 20-year-old with a high school education that's making $100,000 flipping used furniture.
He's laughing all the way to the bank.
Financial advice for everyone. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN. News Radio KMAN. Weather.
Right now in the Manhattan area, 87 degrees, partly cloudy skies, wind gusting as high as 26 miles per hour out of the south. Chance for rain tonight, tomorrow, and tomorrow night. Tonight, thunderstorms and showers likely mainly after 4 in the morning. That chance at 60%, an overnight low of 66. Tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms likely again after 8 in the morning. That chance at 80%. Tuesday night, likely a thunderstorm before 7 in the evening.
Game continues on KMAN. Mitch Fortner with Cole Dutchendorf. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. And if you want to watch us on YouTube, just search for News Radio KMAN. Hit that live tab. You'll find the game here live. If you miss any of the show, check out the podcast. Just search for the game on 1350 KMAN. And on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, hit that subscribe button as well. Hit the likes. Hit the notifications button as well, the bell, whatever it is, and keep up with the cats with us here on the game. I'll be broadcasting live from 4:30 to 5:30 at the Fridge here in Manhattan to find our next 10 instant finalists to win a free trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And how about the Fridge? Celebrating Father's Day with a lineup as solid as Dad himself. Dad Bods and Bonds. Bring together bold 100-proof bottled-in-bond bourbons for an evening of serious sipping and not-so-serious dad jokes. Whether he's a bourbon buff or just bourbon curious, this tasting is all about honoring fatherhood the bonded way. Strong, aged, and full of character. That's taking place at the Fridge in their new tasting room on Thursday, June 12th, 6 p.m. to 7:30. Less than 20 tickets remaining, so go get yours now. A phenomenal Father's Day gift. Cole and Mitch back with you on the game. Cole, I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about this next topic. Outside of K-State, it's the Kansas City Royals who, boy, I tell you what, this weekend against the Tigers, offense was a bit tough for a couple of games. Now, one game it worked out. The other game on Sunday did not, losing 1-0. They get a breather today. That breather, they're allowed to fly down. A kid from AAA who's been hitting the crap out of the baseball, but he was also just drafted not too long ago, and he's super young, about your age, Cole. And
it's crazy.
Well, tell us about this player, why this is a needed move by the Kansas City Royals.
Well, Jack Caglianone's been among some of the most talked about players probably in baseball, but specifically within this Royals fan base because of a few reasons. And we'll get to Jack a little bit later, but first, I want to talk about how abysmal the outfielding hitting has been for this season. I went to a website. It's called let me pull it up, fangraphs.com, where you can compare specific position groups for teams across the league. I knew the numbers were going to be bad, and we'll zero in even specifically on the right fielder, which is probably where he will find himself. He's more of a natural first baseman, but he's been playing in the outfield in minor leagues. We'll go over right field specifically and also outfield as a whole, just how bad they've been compared to the rest of the league. So this is right field. Somehow this is worse than the outfielder numbers, so we'll do those first. 1 total home run this season for players in the right field position. 14 total runs scored, that's the worst. 7 RBIs, that's the worst. 0 stolen bases. All 4 of those numbers for right fielders this season in the MLB for the Royals, worst in the league, and a lot of them by a mile. They've got the worst isolated power. I had to look up what that is. That's just slugging percentage minus batting average. By far worst in the league. I think it's at like .055. Just terrible. Second worst average. The worst on-base percentage by quite a bit. The worst slugging percentage by quite a bit. The worst WRC plus. That is runs per plate appearances scaled where 100 is league average. They're at 35. Terrible. The worst WAR, basically the right field position, at least at the plate, has been disgusting. It's been horrible. The production has been it's been abysmal. There's just no way around it. You've seen guys floating in and out of that slot. MJ Melendez earlier in the season, he's down in Omaha right now. Michael Massey, I believe, has been in that spot. He has not been good at all. It's just been a revolving door, and no one has been able to get anything going. That's where Jack Caglianone enters, because in the minor leagues so far, his slash line, 322 average, 389 on base, 593 slugging percentage, 15 home runs in just 38 games. Home run hitting has been a serious problem for this Royals team. It's by far the worst in the league. I saw something recently where there was one player who has 5 home runs in his last 27 plate appearances. The Royals have 5 in their last 500 plus plate appearances. They can't hit for power. So that's where you bring a guy like Caglianone in, and he could hit 250. And as long as he's, producing some of the power that he has produced in the minor leagues, it's going to be a success for an offense they need power in a desperate way. And that's exactly what he does. He hits for power. There was the one, it was an opposite field single that he hit at 120 miles per hour.
Ooh. That
would have been the 12th hardest hit ball in the StatCast era. It's just ridiculous. He possesses so much natural power, and really he's done, outside of about a week stretch in, I believe it was AA, where he was struggling a little bit, he's been really good. He in his first 4 games, I believe, in AAA, he hit home runs. It was like back-to-back-to-back games. He's just an immediate infusion of power that this Royals offense so desperately needs. I was at that game on Saturday, which they were fortunate enough to win, but it was like, man, where is this offense going to come from? And it's an offense that has a couple of great hitters. You look at Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt. Vinny's been turning it on a little bit. He hit over 300 in the month of May. But outside of that, the bright spots are few and far between. So I love sending him up. I was maybe worried about him coming up too early, but he's also been doing so well in AAA where it's like, might as well give it a shot. He's not going to be worse than the guys they're already sending out there. So might as well throw something to a wall, hope it sticks. He's a young kid. He's got plenty of time to learn the ropes, and I love that they're getting him involved so early, even though he has had a good 80 games of experience in the minor league levels.
Look, you only had to show me one particular stat, and I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and make the move. The Royals have scored 194 runs through 60 games. Only the Colorado Rockies is on a worse pace than that, and they are historically bad.
They are on pace to have the fewest wins through 60 games ever in MLB history.
Well, the next game will be their 60th because right now they're 9-50.
Actually, they're guaranteed because the next worst is 11-49. So they're guaranteed to have the worst record ever through 60 games. And that team is the only team hitting worse than the Royals in certain metrics. It's terrible.
Game one, how does he do? Well, but I was going to ask you as well. So you're a tennis guy, right?
Yes,
so
huge tennis guy.
You got me thinking about the exit velocity, 120 opposite field. Like who serves in tennis that you're on the other side of the court and you're like, holy crap, I don't want to deal with this guy's serving.
Typically, it's the big dudes. Like John Isner was a big American, like 6'11". He could get up 140, 150 with, not 150 with regularity, but 140. 130 to 140 was pretty normal for him. So tennis is a little, but also think about a tennis ball versus a baseball. You know where you're hitting that tennis ball. Baseball is coming in from a pitcher. For you to be able to zero in on that and get it 120 opposite field, that's insane power. So I'm excited. I'll be watching that game tomorrow for sure.
Well, that first game, real quick, call it out right now. How well is he doing in game number one?
You know, it's in St. Louis. I would love to see his first hit as like a 450-foot nuke to the gateway arch. But realistically, just any production at all in the first game, first couple of series, and you'll be happy as a Royals fan for sure.
Well, it's a 3-game series. It starts tomorrow at the St. Louis Cardinals, 6:45 for the first pitch. That means tomorrow we'll have pregame coverage at 6. Hour number 2 at 5:30, joined by AD Gene Taylor on the Big 12 spring meetings. Up next, it's K-State Classics with Cole. 2011 K-State versus Baylor up next.
I started the Maine Frisbee Golf Club at Cornell.
The game.
This is madness.
News Radio KMAN.
Get your passport, sunscreen, and week's vacation ready for an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas, courtesy of U-Stop Phillips 66 and the Friendship House. Your chance to get registered to become an instant finalist this week is at the Fridge. Stop into the Fridge and register for your chance to win an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas. On this Friday from 4:30 to 5:30, 10 instant finalists will be one step closer for their chance to win. So get into the Fridge on Westport Drive in Manhattan and get registered today. Passport to Cabo is brought to you by U-Stop Phillips 66 and the Friendship House.
At ESB Financial, we think it makes sense to pay you. That's right, get paid 5.04% annual percentage yield on balances up to $20,000 with our free Kasasa Cash checking account. We'll even refund your ATM fees nationwide, and the best part is there's no monthly service charges or minimum balances to keep. All you have to do to earn your rewards are a few simple things each month. The best part? These things make banking easier. Visit esbfinancial.com to learn more. Special terms may apply. ESB Financial, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It wasn't long ago that air conditioning wasn't a standard luxury item found in businesses and homes. Can you imagine life without it now? The heating and air industry has changed through the years, but one company has remained constant since 1981. For over 40 years, M&S Plumbing has kept Manhattan and the surrounding communities cool. M&S repairs all brands and offers 24-hour emergency service. So if your AC needs serviced, call on a name you can trust.
Call the experts who care. M&S Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
If you've missed the Kim Commando Show, you've missed a lot.
I want to know how to change series name and voice.
You have to open up the Shortcuts app, select text, type "What can I do for you?" then the plus sign, then run a shortcut.
You got that, Ellen? Thanks for calling. I'm sure you're going to be able to do it in the next 5 minutes.
America's digital goddess.
Kim Commando, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Radio KMAN. KS State Bank wants to be your bank. Find the solutions you've been looking for at ksstate.bank. KS State Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. KMAN, Manhattan. Now, the latest news from the News Radio KMAN and Manhattan Mercury Newsroom.
A pair of candidates enter the November election race just ahead of the filing deadline. A Junction City man charged with attempted murder. And American Legion Boys State of Kansas underway in Manhattan. Hello, I'm Brandon Peoples with a check of local news. A Manhattan woman became the final candidate on Monday to enter the race for a seat on the city commission. Martha Sweeney is an office manager for the K-State rowing team, and she works alongside her husband Patrick, the longtime rowing coach. She says this is her first attempt at seeking a public office.
I know there's a lot of, obviously, polarization in the community, in the country, in the world at the moment, and I want to be involved with my community, really care about Manhattan, and I want to be a part of helping to make decisions that are good for the people.
Sweeney says she still has research to do on some of the more pressing community issues, but she says she's most concerned with the lack of affordable housing and homelessness in the community.
I feel like I'm learning more and more about different communities within the community, some of which I'm not so familiar with, and I feel like sometimes it gets hidden. And so I would say affordable housing, making it feel like they can move here, live here, work here, raise their family here.
The 65-year-old Sweeney becomes the 9th candidate to file for the city commission race. That means there will be no primary in August since there are 3 seats up for grabs. All candidates will advance to the November general election. The race for one of 3 seats on the USD 383 school board will include 5 candidates this November. Tom Drummond filed with the Riley County Clerk's Office just ahead of Monday's noon filing deadline. He joins a field that includes incumbent school board member and past president Jamie Morris Hardiman, former USD 383 Director of Business Services Lou Faust, K-State grad and mother Courtney Jane Hockman, and K-State assistant professor Leah McKeeman. Current board members Carla Hagemeister and Christine Wexman both opted to not file again. Their terms expire in January. A Junction City man is jailed in Riley County on a number of charges that include attempted first-degree murder. The Riley County Police Department says 23-year-old Lane Lawrence Luthi was arrested Friday in Junction City on a warrant listing 10 total charges which stem from an alleged domestic dispute Thursday involving a female victim. According to online court records, that victim is 33-year-old Alicia Ray Dugan. Luthi has been charged with attempted murder as well as aggravated kidnapping, aggravated intimidation of a witness, aggravated domestic battery, criminal damage to property, and multiple counts of criminal threat and domestic battery. He remains jailed on a $500,000 bond. Meanwhile, a 22-year-old New York man is jailed in Riley County on a warrant for past child sex crimes. Brandon De La Rosa is charged with 2 counts of rape involving a victim under the age of 14 and single counts of aggravated criminal sodomy and aggravated indecent liberties. Online court documents allege the incident occurred in May of 2019. De La Rosa is jailed on a $200,000 bond. The 87th session of the American Legion Boys State of Kansas program is underway in Manhattan this week. Opening ceremonies were held Sunday at McCain Auditorium with 2nd District U.S. Congressman Derek Schmidt delivering some opening remarks.
Most of you don't know what's coming the next week, and none of you knows what the outcome is at the end of the week. But each one of you has an opportunity to make the most of this moment. So make some friends, share some ideas, make some connections. Figure out what you like and what you don't like. Give these counselors a hard time within the bounds of the rules.
More than 200 Kansas high school students are participating in the week-long event, which continues through Saturday. After a week delay, the Manhattan area pools are open for the summer. Parks and Rec officials had hoped to officially open the facilities over the Memorial Day holiday, but a rainy, chilly weekend didn't allow for that to happen. Recreation Superintendent Sydney DeHart says the delayed start to the swimming season is a bit rare.
Honestly, the last time I think we had a delay was like maybe 2017, 2018, and that was a staff shortage, but nothing like this kind of weather front that we had this year.
She says the city does adhere to a temperature threshold.
We used to do a 75 and cloudy and a 70 and sunny, but you know, Kansas, it could be cloudy when we start the day and then sunny halfway through. So we wanted something a little bit more consistent. So we're looking for 70 degrees, and then, you know, anything above that, we're ready to go.
Manhattan has 3 aquatics facilities at City Park, Northview, and Seco Park. I'm Brandon Peoples, News Radio KMAN.
News is powered by Central National Bank with locations at the Walmart Supercenter and at College and Claflin. Central National Bank, member FDIC. News Radio KMAN weather.
Right now in the Manhattan area, 87 degrees outside, partly cloudy skies, winds still gusting as high as 25 miles per hour out of the south. Chance for rain and thunderstorms tonight, tomorrow, and on Tuesday night. Tonight, mainly after 4 a.m., showers and thunderstorms likely, that chance at 60%. Tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms again likely after 8 in the morning. Winds gusting as high as 25, that chance of precipitation at 80%.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Wine in the Wild returns to the Sunset Zoo Trails the evening of Saturday, June 7th. Support the zoo and get your tickets today at sunsetzoo.com.
It's hour 2 of the game after work. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf with you until 6 o'clock. No Royals baseball tonight, but they're back tomorrow with 6 o'clock pregame against the St. Louis Cardinals. Cole, we got a message on YouTube during the break. How are the power stats? Talking about Jack Caglione being called up by the Royals. He can hit for power. He's been crushing it in AA and AAA. How does the power stats adjust for different ballparks?
Oh, looking at the same website that I found all of the league-related stats, honestly, I don't know how great of an answer they have either. I'm just going to directly read off of their website. It says, in order to park in league adjust WRC, it takes a few more steps, but it's nothing you can't do on your own with basic calculator or Excel spreadsheet. So this is where we're getting pretty far down the rabbit hole of baseball stats. You know, baseball has the most confusing stats, but I just think a lot of them are cool to say. And also, I have an agenda I need to make, so I'm going to use these stats to prop up my own agenda, you know?
I like the honesty there. Look, the kid rakes.
He does.
That's all we need to know.
Spreadsheet or not. He's going to hit the ball.
Yeah, big league's obviously pretty big deal. The kid's going to be nervous right out of the gate, but you've heard of these stories of like a kid, first Major League Baseball at bat, pulls one to left, it leaves the park, and the rest of the day he doesn't really, for the rest of the week, doesn't do a whole lot. It's maybe a little bit different with old Jack Caglione. 22-year-old has his whole life ahead of him. He's going to make a few bucks, and hopefully he stays up for a long time. But, first at bat, home run, out to right. I don't know about going to the Gateway Arch, but and then he'll hit, probably for the cycle in the first game. I'm not sure, but expect some fun things to happen.
They did just have an MLB player in his debut. He had a walk-off. So, I mean, why can't it be a home run for Jack in his first at-bat?
That would be pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty sick.
I don't know. Okay with it.
Would you? Okay, let me think of this real quick. Would you rather in your first game ever go like 1 for 4 with a home run, 2 strikeouts, 1 for 4, a home run and 2 strikeouts, or go 3 for 5 with 2 singles and a double? I don't know if that's a good.
Well, that's a good question. Which at bat is the home run? Is it number 1 or is it just like the 7th inning?
I don't know.
Honestly,
sure.
I might take the 3 for 5, to be honest. I like a good, efficient batter. I like power too, but when I played baseball, I was never I didn't really hit for a bunch of power. I would just hit the ball over or in between the fielders. So I would take 3 for 5 with the 2 singles and a double.
All right. I will say, just that call-up made Royals baseball this week a lot more interesting.
It did. I saw Patrick Mahomes on Twitter with an office gif of Michael Scott, It's Happening, that entire scene. I don't remember what the context for that scene was, but there was a lot of happy Royals fans on Sunday evening.
The manager of AAA, the Storm Chasers, they put out a video of him telling Jack that he's getting called up.
I saw that. That was pretty cool.
But it was like, well, how do you think you would do?
Those are always a little awkward to me. Like sometimes they just need to get cut to the chase a little bit quicker instead of. I understand what they're doing, playing it up a little bit, but like this one specifically, it felt a little awkward.
It's very hidden camera.
Right?
It's hidden camera, and probably somebody in the social media is like, hey, we're gonna surprise the guy we want to get on film. Can you like tee it up a certain way and like let's get the surprise? And he's like, well, you're doing pretty well right now. You've really gotten to work, and you're doing this, you're doing that right. And Jack was like, yeah, I've really worked with this coach. We're working hard. And he's like, well, how do you feel like you would do taking that to the next level? You think you're ready for something like that? And like Jack's like, kind of pause there for a second. You telling me what I think you're telling me? It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to the show. It wasn't like that. You're typically probably not going to get that reaction. It's like in the movie Major League. Look, if you're going to celebrate, you made the team, take it outside. The celebration is outside the clubhouse. So the big celebration is
pretty
probably
cool.
An hour later.
He said, I need to call my dad. So it was a pretty cool moment overall. I also have to remember, he's only been with this coach for like less than a month. He hasn't been in AAA for that long. So it's not like he has this unbreakable bond with this head coach. He only has been around him for less than a month, basically.
Let's get to K-State Classics with Cole. It's game number 5 as we review K-State Baylor 2011 football game. I wasn't able to find a video that had the open to the broadcast, but I will have the Arthur Brown interception Wyatt call here in just a little bit. But what we do is I've put all these slips of paper with classic K-State football games in the bucket. We pull one a week, and I give Cole the weekend to watch it for the first time. He does me a favor a little bit. He saves a little bit of the second half for the office on Monday, so I can watch it back as well. I had not watched, other than highlights, I had not watched any of that 2011 Baylor game back since I was there in person. Sitting in the east side at about the 30-yard line, face sunburnt. It was a 2:30 game on ESPN, on ABC, late September to open up Big 12 play. Cole, I'll let you take it from here and give me some takeaways.
And that's where it started out. I went back and went on like a weather app and looked at what the weather was for this day because you pointed it out to me. Coach Snyder's wearing a windbreaker on the sideline.
That's what he did.
I went back. It was like upper 70s. It was sunny as can be.
I remember it being warmer than that.
So it's like, classic Coach Snyder on the sideline, being a little toasty in the windbreaker in a very early October game.
Oh, it was early October?
October 1st.
Oh, okay.
So basically late September,
Yeah. But it was also a 2:30 game.
Yes, in the middle of the afternoon, hottest part of the day. But yeah, rocking that windbreaker. I'll have another comment on some fashion for Coach Snyder later in this segment as well, because they mentioned something pretty interesting on the broadcast.
Okay.
A couple of notes coming into this game. It was probably the hottest offense in the nation with Baylor. They were averaging 1 minute and 53 seconds per scoring drive coming into this game, which is just insanely fast.
That rings a bell.
And RG3 coming into this one, more touchdown passes than incompletions, 13-12, which is insane. I mean, to have that kind of accuracy, which it was a pretty quarterback-friendly offense that Baylor ran, a lot of RPOs, quick passes. They loved the fake, the handoff, and the quick dump off to the tight end in the flat. But also, he threw a great deep ball. It wasn't like they weren't taking shots, because they absolutely were. This was a completely different start to this game than from the other 2011 game that I watched against Texas A&M, where it's a slow, gruel it out. The team is kind of feeling each other out in the first quarter. No points scored. Minute 48 into this game, Baylor scores. Robert Griffin III, 4 for 4, 26 passing yards, touchdown. After a good kick return, got him out to the 50-yard line, so you knew they were going to score pretty fast. And then K-State, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, a little bit more, complete opposite. It's slow and methodical. The first drive was nearly 8 minutes of game time taken off the clock.
Call it what it is. Boring football.
Yeah, it's pretty boring. It's not the most friendly in terms of watching it back.
Dink and dunks, 5 yards here, 5 yards there.
It took longer for K-State to get their first down than it did for Baylor to score on their first drive. So it's just hilarious to watch these two completely different game styles. Baylor, it's a track meet. You're spreading them out wide. It's hurry up. In the first quarter, I saw it was a graphic that ESPN, ABC put up late in the game. In the first quarter, the average time left on the play clock for Baylor was 24 seconds. So they're getting, after the play ends, they're getting a playoff within the next 15, 16 seconds every single time. That's the average. Just insane pace. It's like an Oregon-style offense in that early 2010s where it's just breakneck speed at all times. And then K-State, 3, 2, 1. You hear the crowd chanting every single play. It seems like as the play clock is going, it's in the red box on the game ticker. It's going down. You're like, are they going to get it off? Are they going to get it off? And they always did.
Just in case Colin Klein wasn't ever aware of where the game clock was at
Right.
while he's trying to get back in formation after talking to his own line. Yes, the Cats crowd was very happy to help.
I love a good all-white uniform. Baylor and Baylor has some pretty good uniforms. They were rocking the all-whites with the green accents. Baylor and Oregon, some of my favorite uniforms in college football. Just figured I'd point that out. Again, we mentioned the RG3 passing touchdown on their first drive and a quick score. I say quick score. It was a pretty methodical couple of 3rd and 3s. K-State offense in that era is what I've taken away from these first two games. It's like we're going to take 3 to 4 yards every single play. We are very okay with that. We'll take 3rd and 3. Yep, sign me up. We'll get a nice little QB draw.
No tempo,
second
no
and
tempo
6.
whatsoever.
Okay, we'll get a handoff with Hubert. It does not matter. We'll do whatever we need to get first down after first down. So, again, touchdown for K-State, ties it up at 7 o'clock. I love the play calling on the first drive for K-State. We talked about how boring it was, but the couple of times that Baylor would send a blitz, it felt like every time it was dialed up perfectly. There was one where it was a QB draw for Klein and found a little bit of a seam and got a first down on 2nd and 9. And then on the touchdown, which was a phenomenal snare, one-handed out of the backfield for Hubert.
Yeah.
It was a blitz off of the right side. They had just a quick little seam route for John, and Colin, it wasn't the prettiest pass in the world, but he got it done, and John was able to snare it, walk into the end zone. So I love the play calling. It was phenomenal. I was talking to you in the office. It felt like every single play for the K-State offense is like 18 players in the box. You know, you got your one wide receiver, maybe two wide receivers if you're feeling dangerous with their opposing cornerbacks, and then everyone else is within this little box on the line of scrimmage. Again, just completely different from Baylor. Again, 7 minute 25 seconds on the first drive for K-State tying it. Baylor fumble on the ensuing kickoff return, but they do stop the K-State offense, so they settle for a field goal.
I remember that being frustrating too. I think that happened a couple of times where K-State, they got a fumble, they take over in Baylor territory, and they had a chance to go up. I mean, if you consider if they would have scored a touchdown in that first fumble recovery, you could be up 21-7, except K-State had to settle for field goals, and it was 13-7.
It was 10 minutes of game time in between Baylor's first and second offensive drives. That's crazy. And part of that is because of a special teams mistake, but still, 10 minutes is a lot. You could tell because the rhythm was not there for Baylor on their second drive. Actually, RG3 had 2 incompletions, which was it's 16% of the incompletions he had on the entire season coming into this game. RG3, man, he was so dynamic, scrambling to extend plays, but also running when he needed to. For the most part, honestly, he was looking just to pass, but when he needed to use his legs, he would. There weren't a ton of times where he was just making defenders look silly, but there was one run I remember where he was just gliding. It looked effortless for RG3. He was really fun to watch in this game. Second Baylor scoring drive after K-State, and Baylor kind of were in a lull for a little bit. Another minute and 48-second touchdown, and this one was it was a phenomenal play. It was a man that we'll hear his name quite a few times. Kendall Wright had himself a heck of a game, and this one he tiptoed like 15, 20 yards into the end zone, was able to extend the ball past the goal line. Great play, fun to watch. The story they talked about fashion for Coach Snyder was that he was wearing a pair of coaching shoes that had not been made by Nike for 7+ years.
The Cortez?
Yes, Nike
shoes,
Cortez. Yeah. They said that there was 10 shoes still in circulation, like being sold at the time of this game, and he's still rocking them on the sideline. So I just thought that was hilarious.
There was a brief moment. There was a store, and I think the store is still there. It's in the mall. That was selling those Cortez shoes, and you could not buy them anywhere else.
Really? That's
you could actually buy them there at the store, and I bought a pair. I was like, I got to see what these shoes are all about. I did not like them. They just were not comfortable for me. They weren't my kind of shoe.
Rocking the dad shoes on the sideline. It was great. Clutch play for K-State, the very end of the second quarter, 3rd and 14. You're like, okay, this could get dangerous pretty quick with this Baylor offense. But the throw from Klein to Harper in a 3rd and 14 touchdown catch at the very end of the second quarter. Baylor didn't do anything, so we're headed to halftime. And it immediately started with that long Colin Klein run down the right sideline. And, man, for being a dude who's 6'5", 220-something, maybe 230, he could rumble. He wasn't running like RG3, but he had some wheels on him. I was really impressed because you didn't really see the open field speed necessarily in that Texas A&M game. You got to see it against Baylor for Klein in the backfield. Nigel Malone, I just wrote this down, flying all over the field in this game, making plays left and right, whether it was a pass breakup or just flying over the field to make a tackle. He did a lot in this game for K-State. Another RG3 Kendall Wright connection put Baylor back up in the third. K-State defense, they gave up 35 points, but that's not a ton to this really good Baylor offense. And maybe most importantly, they only gave up 7 points to Baylor after the 12-minute mark in the third quarter, and that came later in the third. So it was like they did a great job at limiting the damage that Baylor was able to do. They kept K-State in this game for a large majority of it. Let's see, where am I at in my notes? A lot more straight under center passing for Klein, or it wouldn't be, a shotgun snap that we see now with Avery. It would be, we're taking the snap under center, we're taking a couple of steps back, we're firing it to the flats or whatever that pass was intended. So that was interesting to see the comparison of styles between today's K-State offense and then's K-State offense.
With Colin Klein's awkward passing motion.
Yep. It
arm
didn't look the
movement.
prettiest, but
Yeah.
it would get the job done a few times. Kendall Wright was insane in this game. There was a clutch pass on 4th down, and then a laser for RG3 to him, finds him in the end zone. He also had an absurd 4th and 2 catch in the end zone, over the shoulder, looking into the sun. I could not believe that he held on to it. He had a heck of a game, 200-plus yards receiving, 3 receiving touchdowns. And then we saw this live in action. One of the worst calls I've ever seen with a backwards pass. It was clear as day. We're talking 4 or 5 yards of a backwards pass from. It was Kendall Wright, actually.
It was.
It was a lateral from RG3 to Wright, and then he didn't have anywhere to go. That rolled back to his left, was going to get tackled in the backfield for an 8-yard loss. Just chucks it, and I'm telling you, 4 or 5 yards is not hyperbolic. It was 4 or 5 yards backwards. They didn't call it. They reviewed it, didn't call it. I was like, what am I watching? How is this? And if it wasn't a backwards pass, which it was, should have been intentional grounding.
For sure. That is a play. It was so bad because I had the perfect seat to watch that ball go backwards. There was no doubt, and the K-State fans erupted. That was clearly a backward pass.
It was really bad.
But it's so memorable because it was such a bad call, because I remember the white hat I didn't see it. What happened? They even reviewed it.
Yeah, that was the worst part.
They
probably
reviewed it and nothing happened. It was a complete misplay by the referees. K-State, I don't remember if Baylor ended up converting, because I think that next play was
they
third
got
down
a first
and
down,
5 or
and then this is when they drove it down and then missed a field goal that would have put them up 12. Missed a field goal badly. It was 10 yards off. Then clutch drive for K-State offense, because at this point still down 2 possessions. They get it after the missed field goal pretty quickly down the field, score touchdown. Then I have a Ray Kibble disgusting rep. This is the immediate, the next play, I think, is what it felt like. Disgusting rep at defensive tackle to hit RG3 while he's throwing and force the bad pass into the first RG3 interception of the series. A swim move on the left guard
season.
made him look, yes, did I say series? Swim move on the left guard made him look silly, and then diving into the running back into Griffin's lap, hitting him pretty much in the helmet. It was an absurd play. Arthur Brown with the interception.
And I have the radio call of that play. Here's Wyatt Thompson.
Griffin wants to throw. Intercepted by Arthur Brown at the 20 to the 15-yard line. Arthur Brown intercepts the ball at the 20. K-State's got it with 5:26 to go. Oh, my goodness, what a play by the brilliant Arthur Brown.
What I love the most about that call is it does capture how loud the Bill got.
It was rocking.
A lot of us still say that if you were there, that had to be one of the loudest moments in Bill Center Family Stadium history, because that got K-State back in the red zone with plenty of time to go win the game. They ended up obviously settling for a field goal, but that was a huge play that Arthur Brown, ever since that moment, I mean, he had a lot of plays as well, like the Miami game and the 2 games prior to that, but that last 5 minutes of the game was just so much Arthur Brown.
Yep, and he had a couple of insane plays after that interception, because after the field goal kick for K-State, first play of the incumbent drive, I don't know if that's right, of the next drive for Baylor. It's an insane play for a middle linebacker. His assignment was the running back. The running back's blocking. I don't know if he eventually released. I don't think he did. RG3 rolls to his right, and then Brown, from out of nowhere, tracks him down, sacks him. Insane play in that spot. 2 plays later, another Arthur Brown tackle on a 3rd and 4 to force 4th down. Bats the ball down. It wasn't Arthur Brown on the last play, but
Jordan Volker
bats it down on 4th down and ends the game.
Unfortunately, I don't have that radio call. But what made that game such a classic was the last 5 minutes.
And it was electric. Time of possession. This is my biggest takeaway. K-State 38-47.
Sure.
Baylor 21-13.
Yep. Baylor looked to chuck it downfield and take shots, and boy, I mean, that's our Bryles for you. I can't remember the OC, but also at that time the DC. You'll remember this name. Well, K-State fans, you might remember this name. You mentioned the blitzes they would dial up. No shocker, Phil Bennett was in his first season as the DC from for Baylor. He was K-State's DC. Let me get the time frame right. Late 90s, early 2000s, I believe. Unfortunately, his wife was killed while living here in Manhattan. She was struck by lightning while out running. Yeah, still obviously a very sad story. But Phil Knight, former Cat, as a defensive coordinator, was very much involved in that game. Yep, absolutely a classic. The 2011 K-State-Baylor game, the final score, K-State 36, Baylor 35. That sent K-State to a 4-0 record and got them ranked in Snyder 2.0 for the first time. We take a timeout. When we come back, K-State Athletics Director Gene Taylor will join us live to talk Big 12 spring meetings after a timeout on the game.
Number you have reached.
Tweet the game, KMAN, or call 537-1350 and get in touch with the show. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
What if we told you the most important parts of your window are the parts you'll never even see? Sure, you'll notice the beautiful new frames and the crystal clear glass, but it's the details you don't see that make the true difference. At Midland Exteriors, our full-frame window replacements pay just as much attention to the parts you don't see as the parts you do see. Instead of just taking your old window out, popping in a new one, and hoping for the best, our full-frame replacements are total tear-outs. We fully waterproof the framing to keep any moisture from seeping through. And we never use that old-fashioned Pink Panther roll insulation foam. Instead, we use the expanding spray foam that gets into all the nooks and crannies for total insulation. All things you'll never see. To see the difference the unseen details make for your full-frame window replacement, call Midland Exteriors at 855-735-8255 or visit midlandexteriors.com. That's 855-735-8255 or midlandexteriors.com.
Transit is more than just getting from point A to point B. It's about connecting communities. It's about providing a lifeline for those who need it most. It's about making a difference every day. At Flint Hills Adabus, we're hiring bus operators to help us provide safe, reliable, and friendly transit services across Manhattan, Junction City, Fort Riley, and beyond. With great pay, benefits, and overtime opportunities, your journey starts here. Transit is a career that matters. Apply today at Adabus.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
America's hunters and target shooters, along with firearm, ammunition, and archery manufacturers, have invested more than $46 billion to help state fish and wildlife agencies manage and protect wildlife and wildlands across America. For more information, visit outdoorstewards.org.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within. Over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event.
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
The Ramsey Show.
The problem is the stupid banks will loan you so much money.
I'm Cole Dutchendorf with the Game Sports Update. Power hitting prospect Jack Caglione is set to make his major league debut with the Kansas City Royals. The number 6 overall pick in the 2024 MLB draft, who starred collegiately at Florida, is expected to be promoted Tuesday for Kansas City's 6-game road trip after just 79 games in the minors. Caglione, just 22 years of age, has elite raw power and had posted an impressive .322, .389, .593 combined slash line with 15 home runs in just 38 games this season in the minors. The Kansas State Wildcats football team could see another player added to the National Football Foundation's College Football Hall of Fame, as it was announced on Monday that Wildcat legend Terrence Newman is on the 2026 ballot. In his senior year, Newman was named first-team All-Big 12 as a specialist after leading the conference in yards per return with 28.5, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and a unanimous first-team All-American. Newman also became the first and only K-State player to win the Jim Thorpe Award. We're going to send it back to the game here on News Radio, KMAN. KMAN, this is Cole.
Back on the game for about another 30 minutes out of here at 6 o'clock. Mitch Fortner with Cole Dutchendorf. Now pleased to be joined by the athletics director of K-State, Gene Taylor. Gene, really appreciate your time. After all the Big 12 spring meeting stuff, how do you decompress? Do you stay in Orlando, get a couple of days at Disney World or anything, or what's the plan after all that?
I wish. No, I actually boarded a plane and went to Austin to watch their baseball team.
Sure.
So, no, you kind of go on to the next thing, really, and, matter of fact, I'm actually going back to Orlando on Saturday for our national convention. So, this time of year, just a lot of travel going on.
Well, of course, we have you on today to talk about those spring meetings. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of what was discussed, I guess just explain what is the spring meetings. Why is a whole bunch of folks from the Big 12 going to Orlando last week to discuss stuff?
It's an annual meeting that all the conferences have, usually about this time of year after graduation. They bring the presidents and the faculty reps and the senior women's administrators and then the head coaches of the three, football and the 2 basketballs, and really just discuss the conference. Coaches get a chance to really share their thoughts to administrators about, frustrations or challenges or scheduling or whatever. Rule changes. We talk a little bit about rule changes. Obviously, with football coaches, it was a lot of conversation about the CFP and portal dates. But it's really the first time the presidents don't meet with the coaches necessarily, but they do meet with the faculty reps and the senior women's administrators. It's just an annual meeting, and we typically held it in Dallas, but with our conference being spread all over, we're starting to move it around a little bit so other schools can host.
Well, you mentioned the CFP, and I'm sure that's what people want to hear about the most about those discussions. And first of all, the SEC was also having their spring meetings. It started before the Big 12s. I mean, what Greg Sankey was saying during his time with the media and at the podium, was that kind of directing the direction of how the Big 12 would talk about the CFP at the spring meetings?
Well, yeah, obviously. Commissioner Yormark's been in all those CFP meetings with the commissioners, along with the ACC, Big Ten, and SEC commissioners. ACC and the Big 12 are kind of on the same page. They're not crazy about the 4-4-2-2 format. Want to do something different, and so we were able to visit that with our coaches. And the commissioner came out and strongly, said, "Hey, this is what we think is best for, not only college football but the playoff is the 5 automatic qualifiers and then everybody at large if we go to 16, if they expand to 16. So our coaches were certainly in favor of that, and we just feel that it's a tournament that should be won on the field, and you earn your way in, and you don't get the basketball. You get 1 automatic qualifier, and everybody else is at large, and all the other conference or all the other sport championships, that's the way it is. You get 1 automatic qualifier, and everybody else gets an at-large. So why should football be any different, even though it's a smaller field? So that was really kind of our message, and you begin to hear a little bit. And there's something I read today that Sankey is kind of changing his tune a little bit and said he thinks it should be all automatic qualifiers. And or not all at-larges, and no automatic qualifier. So, there's still a lot of conversation to be held, but it gave the coaches a really good chance to share their opinions to ADs and the commissioner at the meeting.
Yeah, last week, Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, very open about the Big 12 wanting the fairness of college football, and I'm very on board with that as well, and I have been from the get-go, the 4-4-2-2-1-1, whatever it is. I'm not the biggest fan. I like the integrity of college football to stay intact. He did talk about the fairness. Are there other whys to the 5-11 that the Big 12 has really bought in, like personal things for the Big 12, maybe some bigger picture things? Was anything like that discussed?
Not really. Just because of the settlement and the pending settlement, I should say, since the judge hasn't approved it, it's just a lot of information for coaches to understand what the settlement meant, how is it going to be implemented, what's it going to mean for each of the coaches in terms of how, the rules, so to speak, and what's going to be different. So there was a lot of kind of educational things. Not that we haven't had that with coaches, but I think it was good to hear from the conference about what Deloitte roles was going to be, the third-party group looking at NIL, how the payment system was going to work, how the college commission was going to oversee in terms of anybody that falls outside the cap. And so I think it was good for coaches to really hear that process and understand it a little bit better.
So did it feel like overall, like with the conversations of the college football playoff, what you're hearing from like what Greg Sankey says, did it feel like overall for the Big 12 that it was a good week on that topic?
I think it was good that we got, what our feelings were, and the coaches' feelings were really very similar to the SEC coaches. And so that message is, guys, I'm not sure the public really wants a 4-4-2-2-1-1. I think they want, like everybody else, they want, to earn it based on the best teams. They want to see the best 12 or 16 teams in the field, and however you get there. Now, I do agree that, there's comments about there, and there's conversations about the selection process, serving on the CFP. I think we could certainly find ways to tighten that up, particularly how the strength of schedule data matrix come out. I don't have an answer to that yet, but there were times on the selection that there were teams that I thought we relied too heavily on the record and then not so much in who they really dug down into who they played. And I think that's some of the conversation that might be having at the CFP selection is how do we make the strength of schedule really show who you played and not what your record is.
Did you, when you were on the committee, sorry to cut you off there, but because a year that comes to mind was 2022 when Alabama didn't get in. Was there a lot of heat towards the CFP because Alabama didn't get in that year?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, again, and that's the thing we have to get rid of is just because they're Alabama, there were things that they didn't do that year that we know in the committee room, but people just say, how can you not let Alabama in there, the SEC? And I think you have to get past that and say, okay, who did they play? Who did they beat? Everybody in the SEC plays an FCS team late in the year. They only play 8 conference games. They don't play everybody in their conference. And depending on but all of a sudden you're looking at a 10-2 versus a 9-3, and you go, well, they won 10 games, so they must be better. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And I think we have to find a better way to look at those numbers comparatively and say, okay, which really is the better team, and I think they'll continue to work on that.
With the 5-11 model or the 4-4-2-2-1-1, is the Big 12 optimistic that this thing will get done by December 1st?
Well, I think the commissioner is. He's in the room. We're obviously not in the room, and they're having multiple meetings. I think they're meeting again later this month, and you've got 4 commissioners, both with a lot of strong personalities, and I can't imagine what those conversations are, all protecting kind of their own conference. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more discussion and debate, and eventually I think they'll come to hopefully an agreement. But, yeah, they know they kind of have to from a TV perspective and a contract perspective. So I think eventually, and maybe it'll be instead of a long-term agreement, it'll be, okay, let's try this and for the 1 year, and we'll try this. There's a lot to it. Like some of the conferences, if we're going to go to any sort of automatic qualifier, the SEC needs to play, 9 games, and the SEC is saying, well, we're going to go to all AQs except for all large except for the 5 AQs, and we don't want to play 9 games. And so there's just a lot of conversation that have to still happen.
Gene Taylor is our guest, K-State Athletics Director, talking about the Big 12 spring meetings that took place this past week. This weekend, it was Front Office Sports that reported that Brett Yarmark says that for now, the Big 12 will not be pursuing private equity and also not putting a sponsor name on the Big 12's name. I guess I'm sure this was also discussed. Is there specific reasons right now why the Big 12 feels like this is not the way to go?
Well, I think a couple of things. The private equity was complicated because you have 16 schools with really different backgrounds. You got private schools, you got public schools, you got state laws about how to count private equity. Does it count against your debt? Does it not count? Does it count? Does it not count? Other schools were having a lot of different discussions. So it was just really difficult. There's so many different institutions with so many different whether their boards look at things differently. So, I think the private equity group worked really hard to come up with a solution that made sense and would have, I think, been helpful for everybody. But there was just enough uncomfortableness with the presidents and maybe some, university CFOs that there wasn't enough support for it. And something like that has to have, pretty wide level of support across all the conference institutions, and there just wasn't. And so I don't know that it will, any schools will look at it individually. I know we looked at it early individually, and it just wasn't going to work out for us. But I think the private equity groups also learned a lot, too, in the process, because they learned a lot about the challenges institutions face. So they may come back and, work out something different. We'll see. But for right now, it's on hold. And again, the conference-wide sponsorship, I think there's the company that was being talked to. There's still a lot of interest in doing something, but maybe something a little not quite across the naming of a conference, but still involved with each of the institutions. So, again, it's just really, you say we were talking about a particular company. Well, a school may have a relationship with a competitor, and how's that going to work? And there's just so many things that just become difficult to do conference-wide, and I think we're going to pause right now and see if we'll probably pick it up again. But again, I give Brett credit because he's always constantly looking for ways to bring revenue to the conference. It doesn't always work out, but at least he's bringing ideas that are worthy of discussion and a lot of discussion for that matter.
Does he encourage you guys either? Probably just more on an individual school-by-school basis, too, even though the Big 12 as a whole, as a name, isn't going to do it, to still for, say, hey, K-State, you got room on your field for a sponsor, or renaming Bramlage Coliseum. Is he recommending still doing those things?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what he's done is he's brought companies to the conference that they've also learned about each individual institution, and so you begin to have those conversations. Hey, as an institution, well, we might be interested in doing something. Is there an opportunity? So at least we get those introductions to a pretty high level of a corporate CEO or CMO, and they may be willing to have a further conversation. So all that's just more and more ways as we look for more revenue sources. That I think Brett's done a good job of at least putting something out there and saying, hey, here's an idea. What do you think about it? I mean, he knows that it still has to take a vote of the schools, and it may or may not work, but at least he pushes us to think about it, that, a little outside the box than what we've thought about before.
One other thing I want to touch on from the meetings was sounds like it became official with the men's basketball schedule, rolling it back to 18 games. My guess on that is was it just a little bit too much going with 20 games? There was no bye. Was that the thought process there?
Yeah, it was a combination of that, and just again, with our conference as the strength of our basketball conference, it's another, loss on your resume, right? So now the goal is to go out and fill those 2 games with, a quality opponent, as opposed to going and getting someone in the 300s, 200s. You need to still go out and get pretty good opponent to fill that. And we lost the SEC challenge. We had a Big East challenge there for a while. So, we still need to. And the other thing is it gives you a chance to bring another, non-conference, potentially good opponent to your, like this year we're getting Creighton. And I think that's a great scheduling move. So just it helps you maybe still have a strong schedule with 18 conference opponents and maybe pick up another non-conference strong opponent and maybe another win somewhere with not a high RPI type school.
Did Coach Kleiman get an opportunity to make his argument about how he feels about the way the Big 12 can make a scheduling change that maybe more mirrors a conference like the SEC?
I don't know if he did in the ADs. We didn't talk about it. He might have had a chance with just the commissioner, when the coaches meet themselves. I didn't see that. I wasn't part of that because the coaches meet directly with conference commissioner and the conference staff, and then they come in and meet with the ADs. In that one, we got pretty quickly into transfer portal windows and CFP, and so spent most of our hour plus talking about that. So he might have done it in the other meeting, but I'm not. He and I didn't get a chance to catch up with everything. So.
Well, Gene, one more thing before I let you go, and I saw a couple of weeks ago that actually somebody put it out there last week, but I saw the event's going to be in Dublin a couple of weeks ago. That the Big 12 and the WWE are expanding their partnership, and they're bringing SmackDown on Friday nights to the Big 12 markets before big games, and the first one is going to be in Dublin the night before the College Football Classic. And I can't think of a better way to combine the WWE and the Big 12 than having Kansas State's public address announcer, myself, ring announce at SmackDown on Friday night. So I was wondering if you just put in a good word for me to even grow that relationship even further. What do you think?
Absolutely. When we get our turn with a home game and a Friday night in Bramlage, I'll certainly push that envelope for you and say, hey, I got the PA announcer for you, the ring announcer. We don't even have to go out and look for somebody. I got to figure it out. So I think it'd be kind of cool, to be honest with you. I think if we could get the opportunity on a Friday night to host a WWE SmackDown before a home game, I bet we'd draw a lot of interest and it could be a lot of fun.
They're moving tickets right now. I think that would be a pretty fun partnership. Did you have something cool? All right. Well, with that, Gene, I appreciate your time and good stuff. And it sounds like the Big 12 had some pretty positive conversations about the future of college football. So with that, I really appreciate you, Gene. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks. See you.
That's K-State Athletics Director Gene Taylor. I know it's a bit of a stretch. We were talking about that last week. I'm like, man, putting SmackDown in Bramlage, I just don't know if Bramlage has the right kind of facility to host something like that. It was arena definitely built for college basketball, not for a whole lot of other stuff. But they used to have big concerts and stuff. I think you could make it work. I don't think the WWE. I do not think the WWE would like an arena that has half chairbacks, half bleachers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be a big fan of that, honestly.
Let's go to Ahern.
Go to Ahern?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I said not long ago, look, AEW does these house shows. And as far as I understand, they're not asking for a ton of money. It was really an opportunity to get some of the younger talent out in front of crowds when the company was still building and signing a bunch of people. They would still put some stars on those shows as well, but they just wouldn't televise them. And they were doing smaller venues. They would do 1,000 or 2,000 seaters. I'm like, K-State's volleyball arena, the morgue,
yep,
would be perfect for that. Let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll briefly touch on K-State football adds 3 recruits today to the commitment list for 2026. And Ask Us Anything is after these words.
Sports.
Uh-oh, he's got space. Oh! Slingshot game winner, Jacob Pullen.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
My name is Heidi Dixon. Mom, Jackie Wolf, was the patient of interim hospice. I live in Texas, and after Mom got on hospice, when I came back to Texas, interim was a huge lifeline for me in terms of information. Maria, the social worker, was a dream. Going every other week, sharing a picture and what Mom was doing and what was she saying and what was she looking forward to. And she brought us right into the room with Mom. And she said when she was planning to go next. And as a hospice worker in Texas, I was asking our social workers, are we doing this? This is amazing. She was so engaged with Mom and so connected the dots for us. That was invaluable. Aside from Mom's increasing comfort with the pain management provided by hospice, the social work connection and support, those were the two most visible benefits that I continue to be exceedingly grateful for.
We care, we're there. Interim health care.
At Buck Roofing and Construction, they do more than just roofing and gutters. They also offer a wide range of siding options as well. Whether you are in need of siding, a whole new roof, gutters, or just a repair, Buck Roofing can do it all. Call for a free, no-obligation estimate today, 785-230-9379, or visit rbuckroofing.com. Buck Roofing, where quality and professionalism come first.
The Ramsey Show.
Up to 50% of American families are paying their adult children's bills to an average of $1,482 a month. Wow. I've never seen it like this. 25% of millennials, their parents are paying their housing, house payment, their rent, or they're living in their basement. You pay your kids' bills. Psychologists call that enabling. As a matter of fact, enabling is quite the opposite of loving.
Go from paycheck to purpose with The Ramsey Show. Weekdays 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN. News Radio KMAN. Weather.
Right now in the Manhattan area, 87 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Wind gusting as high as 25 miles per hour out of the south. Chance for rain the next couple of days. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms likely mainly after 4 in the morning. That chance at 60%. Wind also gusting as high as 25 miles an hour both tonight and tomorrow. Chance for a thunderstorm after 8 in the morning tomorrow. That chance at 80%, a high near 74. More rain possible on Tuesday night.
Arguably the greatest wrestling theme of all time, NWO Wolfpack. Back on the game, let's touch on 3 Wildcat commits today as K-State football this past weekend had a whole bunch of guys, like 13 or 14 guys. Hearing from Drew Galloway this past week, he said about 13 or 14 guys coming in on official visits, and the Cats get commitments from 3 homies here. Keegan Collins is a 6'6" offensive tackle from Amarillo, Texas. He has 3 stars. What do we understand? I remember talking to Drew about this. This was a kind of a quick recruitment. Took a couple of months, but Brian LePack gets the commit. He had offers from Arkansas, Arkansas State, Boise State, Arizona, Oklahoma State. A lot of Texas schools, obviously, as you can imagine. Washington State was in there as well. And he commits to the Cats. You have an athlete in Tanner West, 6 foot, $170. He played running back and wide receiver in Katy, Texas. He's a 3-star as well. That's according to 24/7 Sports. Totaled 1,228 yards from scrimmage, 700 yards on the ground, 534 through the air, 13 touchdowns. He was first-team All-District. He had offers from KU, a lot of group of 5, group of 6, whatever you want to call it, schools. SMU was in there as well. But if you were just going off the offer list, the big get here was Justin Morales, the third announcement, 6'4", 250 offensive lineman. He's an interior guy from El Paso, Texas. He is listed as a 3-star. Another win for Brian LePack. His offer list includes Michigan State, Baylor, Auburn, Wisconsin, Arizona State, Arkansas, Georgia Tech, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Tulane, UTEP, others there as well. Pretty big get there for K-State. 7 commits for 2026 for them on the offensive line. And with that, here comes some cues.
You know, I have a good one in the chamber for later this week when we have a little bit more time to have a fully fleshed out conversation. I'm excited to bring that one up, but we'll leave it at that for now.
You're teasing me.
What I want to do is just pretty straightforward. Which sport, what ball do you think is harder to hit? Baseball or softball? Which one do you think is harder to be in the batter's box and deliver a knock, a base hit?
Like, are you quizzing me, or is it just my opinion?
Just your opinion. Just your opinion.
I mean, I would say a baseball.
Because I do know, I talked to a couple of family members that were collegiate softball players. It's much closer to the box in softball. The ball is bigger, obviously, but also there's different things to take into account. Like there's a riser in softball, which obviously that does. There's a lot of wicked pitches in baseball. Don't get me wrong, and I'd probably still say baseball too. But I think it is because I think Sports Science did a thing, which rest in peace to it was their host. I'm forgetting his name, but he just passed away recently. But it was comparing the velocity of a softball to a baseball, because a baseball comes in faster, but because it's a shorter distance for a softball, it's actually pretty comparable in terms of how much reaction time the hitter has.
Well, and softball is it's a quick game. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was attending regional softball, went to a little baseball as well, watching the NCAA tournaments, both for softball, the College World Series going on there, and the men's in the regional stage. I am more entertained by softball.
Oh, for sure.
It's
pretty quickly moving.
It's faster pace. Mm-hmm. It's a faster game, like not just in time, like on the field. Here comes the ball up the middle. You got to react quickly or somebody's about to score.
It's short base paths.
Bang, bang, bang. Mm-hmm. It's quick plays. The home run, like the walk-up music is way better. More personality from the softball players than the baseball players.
They got the great chatter in the dugouts. Maybe you don't hear it as much on TV, but especially like umpiring for the younger kids, they're always chirping. Maybe it's not chirping like trash talk, but they're always talking and hype each other up.
Did you see that clip of I think it was an Oregon pitcher? Here comes the pitch, kicks up some dirt. It shatters a little piece of dirt.
Insane.
And some of the dirt goes in her catcher's eye.
Great camera work, too. I mean, you could see it clear as day. That was insane. It was a crazy clip.
Well, that's going to do it for the game. Got a couple of hours with you tomorrow. Good stuff with Gene Taylor. If you missed that conversation, the podcast, newsradiokman.com, or just search for the game on 1350 K-Man, wherever you listen to your podcast. For Cole, I'm Mitch. Go Cats.
You've built value.